Hey, good morning. It is Batman Mug Cone and Coffee time, which means it is yet again Mondays on the Mountain with your host, Pastor Ken. I'm so happy to be back with you today. We took 1 week off because of the Easter holiday, just to observe the resurrection of Jesus Christ clearly, but today we are back into a discussion about being free from offense in our lives. The sermon series that we're in right now is just simply called Freedom from Offense, and we believe that that is something that God wants for every Christ follower, to be free of something that is as debilitating as offense. Jesus says in the book of Luke, he says, it is impossible that offenses won't come. And the thing about offenses are, we've talked about this a lot, but just for review's sake, offense will absolutely rob you of peace. It'll rob you of your destiny in life. It'll rob you of joy. It robs you of everything. If you're walking around and you've got this thing that's very common in our culture today, this victim mentality, this entitled mentality, you're constantly mad at being done wrongly, it will derail your entire life. So the Bible has a lot to say about what to do when you are legitimately done wrongly, and we've been focusing on that and finding a great deal of freedom in that. But yesterday, we focused on one that it can be a little bit of a touchy subject, and some people may or may not get mad at my thesis statement in this, and my thesis statement is this: God is going to offend you. In John chapter 6, Jesus Christ is on the earth, and he's kind of in this rock star phase of his earthly ministry, and he's walking around, he's healing the sick, he's feeding the hungry, he's raising the dead, and he's very influential. And at this point, the religious people of the day hate him so much they're looking for ways to kill him. Then there's this other faction of people that believe in him so much that it's notated in the Bible. They want to put their hands on him and force him to be king. They're putting God and God's plan into a box, and the old timers would say it this way: never put God in a box, because all he'll do is kick out the walls. So in John chapter 6, Jesus kicks out the walls by saying some very concerning things. He says, listen, you don't have any place in me, you have no life in me unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood. Yikes. Now, we know through historical perspective that what he was referring to is reception of a complete intake of his life, his death, his resurrection. And it's also kind of pointing to the symbol, one of the ordinances of the church, Holy Communion, the Lord's Supper. But on that day, these were highly offensive things to say, and the crowd hearing him that were called disciples say, this is too hard a saying, we're out. Now, Jesus in that moment looks at the remaining disciples, and he says this specifically. He uses the word that we're focusing on. Are you offended at this? And our boy Peter, my favorite disciple, he pipes up and he says something that we have heralded for 2,000 years. He says, where else am I going to go? Only you have the words of life. And I've always read that a little bit differently. I've seen that it's at least possible that Peter could have been concerned in that moment. He could have been left without options and still disliking the things that Jesus was saying, all the crowds that were departing. But his resolve was this: where else can I go? I may not like what you're saying right now. I may not understand what you're doing right now, but my hope is in you. All of my eggs are in the Jesus basket. Where else can I go? And I acknowledge that you hold the words of life. So what we talked about yesterday and what I want you to consider right now is this: does God have permission to offend you? Matter of fact, that's my question. Does God have your permission to offend you? The Bible tells us that God's ways are higher than our ways. He thinks on a different plane. He's got the 30,000-foot view, and we are crawling around on our stomachs down here. He gets to do whatever he wants to do. We get to trust that he makes all things new in his time. He redeems all things in his time. And when we don't see what he's up to, when he's speaking in ways that we find flummoxing, when he's doing things that aren't according to our preferred timeline, we get to refuse offense even at the Almighty and say, I'm going to put my hope, my faith, and my trust in you. So would you consider those things as you go into this week? Has God done things in your life that you're not all that on board with? And what is your response to them? Do you say, you're God, I'm not, have your way? I love you. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Sunday. If I don't see you on Sunday, I love you anyway. God bless.